All right, are we live? Let's check this out. Just checking my stream health. YouTube sometimes has a little lag, so please bear with me. Thank you.
All
And
right. Are we?
there we go. Cool. I am seeing it live. So I'm going to go ahead and, sorry, mute my tab here. Skip ahead to live. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Here in person at the American Fork Library Meeting Room 1 right now, if you wanted to skip by in person. And this is also being streamed on usconstitution.info and constitutionalvote.org. You can get the live stream link from there. And yeah, so this is a training for what is the caucus and how can I participate and how can I make it worthwhile? How can I, prevent bad people from getting into power and help good people to get into positions to where they can represent us? And that's really what the caucus is all about. And so we do have some presence right here as well. And thanks to those who showed up. Um, but yeah, I'm the host here at Truth from Earth, Seth Stewart. And so I'm just going to be trying to figure out how to best answer your questions. I am monitoring the live stream. There is a live chat on YouTube that you can go ahead and just drop your questions in. We should also hopefully be joined from folks on X and Facebook and other platforms. But first off, I just want to go over a little bit of the history of caucus. First off, you might be wondering, why is there such a strange word? And it supposedly, this is the most popular theory that I know of as to the etymology of the word caucus, is that it comes from an Algonquin tribe term, which basically means a council or a discussion. And so the early American settlers and the pioneers who came out here to Utah understood that it meant a meeting of elders, a gathering of elders, a gathering of in council to try to make some deliberation, arrive at a decision, conduct an election, etc. Um, the term has been heavily co-opted by a lot of different parties, shall we say. For example, you might have heard of the Iowa caucus. You might have heard of your House representatives and their majority caucus and their minority caucus. And most of those things, this is an example of what I think of as keyword stuffing, right? To where the devil basically, yes, it's the devil behind it. And he creates these facades in front of the real stuff. And the facade is made to look like the real thing, but it's intended to misrepresent the underlying thing, to distract and divert your attention away from it. And so anybody who goes on the internet today and searches for the caucus, um, it's very unlikely that search engines are going to be optimized to lead them to the Utah precinct caucus. Um, you can get search terms that are specific enough and be led to websites like precinctportal.org, which is the one I'll be using to train people about caucus and where to find your location. But the you can see that pretty much everywhere that our enemies really don't want us to know about caucus. Like they really don't want us to find each other. And this is a common theme, a thread behind all of our modern election systems, just about, with very limited exceptions, is that they want to be the ones who mediate and moderate those things. And so, of course, you're allowed to participate in a popular vote general election or a primary because those are, and you're invited to participate in those by our government because they're the ones who run those elections. They're the ones who call the shots as far as what gets media coverage. They have those deep connections to the media. Whereas neighbors actually talking with each other and discussing real issues, that's not something that the powers that be really actually want you to do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen a little bit. We're going to go over some content here because it's going to be good. This is just a little, if you're seeing my screen here, let me try to change where I am on the screen. Sorry, just 1 second. Going to teleport myself over to the other side just because there's less stuff on the screen over there. There we go. Make myself a little smaller. All right. Now this is pretty cool. This is the etymology of the word caucus. And maybe it's not the most important thing to know that it's a Native American term. I actually think it's pretty cool because, as descendants of the Lamanites and possibly the Nephites, these people understood the importance of having your own local meetings and talking things through. It's how you find connection and find solutions. But we're just going to try a few other experiments here real quick. So let's go ahead and search for caucus, right? Group or meeting of supporters or members of a specific political party or meeting or movement. So Nevada caucus, presidential primaries and caucuses. Yeah, so you do get some information apparently from, there's a council of state governments. I don't think that's what we're looking for. But anyways, all right. But for the most part, like a lot of the resources that are out there, get this, by the way, if you look for utah.gov caucus, check this out. Caucus.utah.gov. Watch this. This says 2024 caucus information. So this is outdated. You click on this link. Oh, wait a minute. It's there. All right, it's live. Okay. Wow. Almost caught myself there. A few days ago, this caucus.utah.gov just showed you information about the primaries. So there was not a lot of love given to the caucus system by the lieutenant governor's office, by the government of Utah, or even by the parties. They tend to only get out the word like last minute, last couple of days. And admittedly, that's kind of what I'm doing here too. Except I've been trying to drum up enthusiasm for the caucus year round. Obviously, people tend not to pay much attention to it if it's far off, but it doesn't hurt to get some kind of outreach, advocacy, information out there so that people aren't caught off guard last minute during the headlights. But I do just want you that just one of the first things to notice about the caucus is how little media coverage the caucus actually gets, how little awareness, how little outreach and advertising from those in power. And that's because those in power really, really hate the caucus and they want it gone. And the reason they want it gone is because you actually have power to represent yourself through the wise selection of delegates to represent you or to run as a delegate. And that is one of the things that makes people in power in our government most uncomfortable. But I must say, I wasn't expecting this. I am pleasantly surprised that the lieutenant governor's website, caucus.utah.gov, actually does have like some buttons here where you can go and select your character and choose which party you're wanting to attend. So it says enter your address at vote.utah.gov. Okay, and yeah, this is what you're seeing on the screen here right now, by the way, is you are seeing the website that it did lead you to just a couple of days ago. And the first thing that gets rubbed in your face is the regular primary election. And that's been up for goodness knows how long. Track your ballot. And it's like, okay, how can I vote? Like, I'm sorry, but this actually isn't super helpful. Okay, but let me try. I'm going to just play the role of an ordinary Joe citizen here. And if anybody in the live stream chat can help me out, maybe, but I'm going to try to poke around my way on the lieutenant governor's website and see if I can find out if I'm a Republican and I'm affiliated, registered with the Republican Party, how do I find my location? Enter your address at vote.utah.gov to find your specific caucus location. We'll figure out how long it takes. Okay, and the first thing I get is this, sign up to track your ballot. Yay, our elections are totally safe and secure. You can trust us, let's say with Darth Sidious, so you can trust him. So how can I vote? Track my mail? No, I would love to learn about candidates and issues. Is that going to be something with caucus? What can you tell me, Lieutenant Gov, about the caucus, like election? Okay, let me just click on like literally every button here and see if there is actually anything here. How can I vote? Oh yeah, okay. So is that, which one is that? Oh yeah, that little icon, the little location button. So how can I vote? Yeah, okay. Let me go ahead and put in my address here. Da, da, da. Don't worry, my address is already public. I've filed to run as a candidate. Oh, look at that. Whoops. There is no current election information to display. Oh, gee. Wow, Deidre Henderson, you did it again. I'm sorry. Just so you know, like I am super cynical about our lieutenant governor. She presided over her own election in 2024, which was a definite conflict of interests. I don't know. Maybe this next box. Sorry, guys. I know some of you came here expecting to just be like having a suit and tie and everything, and like super formal and everything. Like here's how you participate in a caucus. And I'm so sorry that you're having to see this, but I think there might not be a more empathetic way actually to appreciate what exactly an ordinary voter experiences than to just be like, oh, let's just like if I see a billboard that's advertising caucus and I don't remember the website or there wasn't one, okay, I could look up my voter registration info. Like I'm obviously going to try to go to some kind of government website to figure out what this thing even is and how do I participate in it. And okay, maybe we can cut them some slack. Maybe they're just being a little bit pokey, getting up the. Maybe they'll have something on Monday. Maybe they'll have something on Tuesday. Who knows? Okay, but yeah, suffice it to say, I am not impressed with the experience here on the Lieutenant Governor's website. Oh, look, there's party contact information. Maybe the party knows where I can go for caucus. What do you think? Utah GOP, UT GOP. Paving the way for future pioneers. Perfect. Some dude with the cowboy hat. That's exactly what I wanted to see. I don't know. What do you think? Is this where's the caucus? Join the fight. Of course, I want to like join the fight. Yeah, let me join the fight. Man, I am caucusing this. I am caucusing, whatever. Sorry, shouldn't make up words. But like, okay, good dudes. Cool. Welcome. Awesome. Now share with others to increase your impact. Look, I did such a good civic duty here by giving my email to the Utah GOP so that they could give me a link that I can go and share with other people. Um, I am adding something to my constitutional vote website right now, and that is a pledge to support the Constitution, because this is one of the awkward ironies around the 14th Amendment and the current citizenship debate that we're having right now, is the oath of naturalization actually requires you to pledge loyalty to support and defend the Constitution. Isn't that interesting? Problem is, the vast majority of American citizens have never done that in this life. Only naturalized citizens are required to do that. Or if you're, going into certain branches of government, political, but who, they just give lip service most of the time anyway. But point being, I think there is meaning and value in making an oath or an affirmation saying, I will support and defend the Constitution. That's not what this Utah GOP website just asked me to do. It just said, give us your info and congratulations, you are now supporting the movement somehow. All right, okay, I just increased my impact. I just leveled up. Cool. Oh yeah, okay, now they're saying, will you join? Yeah, I want to volunteer. Obviously, like, of course I want to volunteer. Oh, and I now have to say, don't publish this on the website. I need to opt out. Yeah, go ahead and opt out of like sharing my, and then I get the same congratulations. I'm sorry, like I was not anticipating this to be just kind of a ridicule session for the lieutenant governor and Utah GOP's offices, but I'm sorry, guys. This is what you see if you are an ordinary Republican or perhaps anybody, any voter in the state, and you're just like, what is this caucus thing and how do I participate? Let's see if the Constitution Party does it better. Okay. Hmm. Oh, look, the lieutenant governor's office still sends you to the whole primary election page for that one too. Okay, guys, this is not funny. Constitution Party of Utah.com. Okay, life, liberty, and integrity. Learn more. I'm down. I'm down. George Washington's farewell address. Okay, all right. So they're like teaching stuff here. That's cool. That's an upgrade from Sorry, Utah GOP, but the Constitution Party has this over on you. And there's a nice little support the cause button, just like on the other one. But uphold the Constitution. Yeah, yeah, okay, okay. All right. Join the and then contact. Okay. But yeah, as far as like caucus, unfortunately, still maybe maybe I'm just mean. Am I just being mean here? Just ragging on these different parties and on the lieutenant governor's office, being like, hey guys, you actually need to advertise this thing. Okay. And the Utah Democrats, this is what it looks like if you're a Democrat. You say, okay, keep up with the Utah Democrats. And we need your help. Please donate. MAGA Republicans want to take your rights away. And we Utah Democrats are working hard to prevent that. Yep. And this is part of the problem is that we're balkanized here, guys. Even just trying, oh, look at this. Okay, gotcha. Awesome. Okay. Okay. Kudos to the Democrats because of the three parties I've looked at so far, they're the only ones who actually include a section on their landing page that says reserve your spot at caucus night. Even mentions the caucus. Okay, that's cool. All right. Kudos to the Democrats. Way to go. Way to preserve Republican government better than Republicans do. Sorry. Um, who else can I offend? All right. IAP. I have high confidence in IAP. They're going to do it right. Watch this. Watch this. Okay. 70 core. Okay. More Gaza. Principles growth. More. Come on, IAP. Pull through for me. Events. Maybe. Constitution and bylaws. Dang. I probably should have there's a Constitution Day event. That's gonna be super cool, I'm sure. Wait a minute. Why? And to be fair, I didn't upload any info on the caucus on my website until this morning. So is what it is. All right. But you can kind of see their appetite to go through the other ones. The Forward Party. I met a guy who was registering for the Forward Party, and I thought he was actually a pretty level-headed dude. So get involved. Let's see. Where's the caucus? Ah, there it is. Yes. And they're doing a virtual caucus night. All right, cool. So caucus is an actual thing. And there are two parties, at least in the state, that are advertised on the lieutenant governor's website on caucus.utah.gov that you can go to and learn more about your caucus, but only if you're a Democrat or Utah Forward Party right now, apparently. And this is one of the reasons why we have search engines and one of the reasons why we need to gather and get with other people who know what's going on and where to find stuff. Full disclosure here, guys, if you felt totally deer in the headlights going into all this and that was maybe kind of rude of me to go and dunk on those websites. My first experiences as a caucus goer were not actually that much better. In fact, I went and tried to find stuff out, and there was just not a lot of easily findable resources. There are people who do work really hard to create those resources and deliver them. One of them is my county party chair in the Utah County GOP, Christy Henshaw. Shout out to her because she has worked very tirelessly to create and provide and publish caucus resources for all of you. But it might be counterintuitive, though, for an ordinary Utahn to think, wait, I have to go to the county GOP's website before I can learn about caucus. So Rob Axson, the current state party chair, gonna say shame on you for not publishing on the caucus as much. And if you have, sorry, just saying, I want to be fair to you, but if this is on the utahgop.org website somewhere, please, voters. Oh, there it is. I have to go under voters and then caucuses. Okay, gotcha. It does exist. Yes, thank you. All right. Thank you, Utah GOP. Cool. But yeah, just saying that was not the most intuitive thing, especially given the timeliness aspect and the fact that you're trying to act as a funnel here to get people to come to this thing. So people's attention spans, sadly, are super short. So if you've made it this far in this video, super kudos and congrats to you. Because the enemy knows your attention span's short. And this is why TikTok videos are super short and just super glitzy, why YouTube's moved to the shorts format and so on, is because we're being programmed to have a super short attention span, lest we ever actually get together and talk with each other and share the pieces of the puzzle that we have and learn things. So my apologies. All right. Little exoneration, I guess, for the vindication for the Utah GOP. Yes, it does exist. I'm sure the others are either working on it or it's somewhere that I just missed. But you know, you can maybe figure out why some of this is a little bit during the headlights. Oh, and wait a minute though. Okay, Utah GOP. Sorry, just gonna nitpick here for a little bit. Voters caucuses. That's what I clicked on, right? I clicked on caucuses and it just says understanding. Okay, yeah, community. Oh, that sounds great. And then there's a caucus booklet. Yay, I get to go like read a booklet. You're telling me I have to go read a booklet before I can even go like vote? Okay, and it's how many? It's 15 pages. Oh, okay, good. Like, but it exists. It exists, and like, yeah. It's actually really cool. It's actually really helpful and insightful to understand this stuff. Look at this. This is a buried truth. 1937. You need to understand that's where our direct primaries came from. Most Utahns and most Republicans don't realize that. The direct primary, the primaries we all know about that the lieutenant governor's office and website brag about when you click on, I want to know about the caucus, right? It sends you to the primaries. Those were installed 1937 by the progressive movement. Dun, dun, dun. All right. I'm trying to keep this fun and engaging. I actually do really like this. There's a lot of true stuff that's in this pamphlet. I don't think that an ordinary person needs to know everything in the, like, there's not a test. Like, you don't need to know everything in this booklet before showing up to caucus night. But you should know that it's a time to show up and vote for delegates who will represent you and run to be one if you want one. There are different kinds of delegates. It gets a little bit complicated because there are people running for state office, national office, and county office. And you can run to be a county delegate if you want to vet the county candidates. You can run to be a state delegate if you want to vet the state and national candidates. And I've done that before, and it's a lot of fun. I get to put John Curtis in the hot seat so many times, our current senator. My goodness, I got to ask him all the questions that he was hoping nobody would ask. It was lovely. Well, I didn't actually ask all of them because there wasn't time, but I got to ask him usually one question per visit, of which there were like a dozen that I went to. Yeah, I gave him a hard time. Oh, just a little more background on caucus and like why it's super important to save is because only about 9% of registered voters have turned out to caucus. So like it's really low voter turnout. And in case you were wondering, because next time I'm pretty sure the next legislative session, there are going to be a lot of Utah legislators who are like, is it time to bump off the caucus? Because I'm pretty sure it's obsolete and it's irrelevant anymore. And they'll cite the whole low voter turnout thing. But excuse me, can you blame them when the lieutenant governor's website looks like this? And it looked not even like this just a couple days ago. I checked. And you can go to the Wayback Machine if you want to fact check me on that. But anyways, and then if you do click on any of these, it's like, okay, all right, you go through this. Okay. Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to click on the party contact information instead of going to your vote.utah.gov. That's so happy to tell me about the primary election because that's so helpful. So I hope what you're seeing here, folks, is that every click away, every further like unintuitive, labyrinth branch here, every fork in the road that people have to take just to be able to even find out information about the caucus. Like, you're losing people. And I'm absolutely certain that the party chair knows that. I'm absolutely certain that the lieutenant governor who administers and oversees all elections in the state knows that. There is no possible chance that they don't. So, I mean, kudos to them for saying, yeah, it's on March 17th at 7 p.m. Uh-huh. Okay. Where do I go? I still haven't found on the lieutenant governor's website or on the Utah GOP website, which is the most popular party in the state. I haven't found out where to go yet to just figure out where do I show up? That's the biggest question. Because if you show up, you can figure it out. And that's how I figured out the caucus is by showing up. I didn't read a whole bunch of pamphlets ahead of time. I had like one friend who invited me, but actually the way I got involved in the caucus and probably wouldn't have taken it seriously or known what it really was otherwise, was guess who? The first presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They wrote a letter, a first presidency letter, and they caused it to be read over the pulpit in sacrament meeting. Yes, that is why I'm in the caucus. And if I had not heard it from them, the chances are rather high that I would not have heard about it at all until much, much later, because we just don't do a good job of getting the word out there. So it's a fair question, guys. Actually, this is a good marketing question for those of you out there who like to study how to spread ideas and so on. How do you get engagement and participation? Is what percentage of that 9% of Utah registered voters that even participate in the caucus is there because the largest religion in the state has specifically urged its members to go and participate? I leave that for you as an open question. I don't claim to have the answer to that, but it is abundantly clear to me, and I've done videos on this very topic before, that if not for the intervention of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in supporting and preserving the caucus system, it very likely would have been dead already. The state of Utah is one of very few states that even has a caucus anymore, and it is the last vestige of Republican elections anywhere in the United States. I have a really nice handout for that I can give to you later on, but I've done videos on that topic as well. If you want a really quick up to speed brief on that, I would recommend my video on the Electoral College. I believe it's titled, We Haven't Had a Republican President in More Than 150 Years. And the way I gather that is because a Republican election, as identified by the founding fathers in the Federalist Papers, this is Federalist number 10, number 62, and 68. Federalist number 10 has to do with why it's a bad idea to leave everything to a popular vote. So that is a raw democracy. James Madison said that's a bad idea. That'll lead to tyranny, because then you just have rule of the majority, which is tyranny. And so you need to have different representational methods to be able to fracture power and ensure that there are differences of alignment between different public officials and offices. And that's exactly what our founding fathers baked into the Constitution. It's really, really beautiful. And I call them the red, white, and blue election methods. There are 3 different election methods, 4 if you count judges, which are by appointment of the executive, by the president, with the advice and consent of the Senate. Advice and consent, by the way, that's interesting. So it's not just the president. The president can't just unilaterally appoint someone. But the red, white, and blue, I'll just be super brief. Red elections I refer to as the indirect elections. That's the caucus. That's the original Electoral College, where it's a delegated election. That's why it's called indirect. You vote for a representative who then votes for you vote for a transient representative. That's your delegate. And you're delegating your voting power to that delegate. And then that delegate votes for that officer. And my opinion is it's the most discerning possible election method, because you're voting for people you actually know at every single step in the process. This is what I absolutely love about the caucus. And I never ever found that through direct popular vote primaries, partisan primaries, or general elections, because there's no dialogue, there's no discourse, there's no debate, no meaningful interaction between citizen and citizen. It's just like, well, I hate Kamala Harris. Well, I hate Donald Trump. Well, you smell bad, right? And that's how you do partisan campaigning anymore. And it's all driven by big money and mass media and name recognition and like almost absolute zero information. There is information out there on these candidates, but it's all curated, it's tailored, it's groomed to the different audiences and the partisan polarities and so on, to increase that polarization, basically to promote the lie that this person is a good candidate because the other person's a bad candidate. I'm sorry, but that's a non sequitur. They're both awful. And that problem is never going to go away until we actually meet in person and discuss the issues and have those face-to-face conversations. And that's what the caucus is all about, properly done. So, yeah, I'm just, sorry, guys, I'm struggling with this whole Utah GOP thing. And Rob Axson, by the way, he actually told me to my face. He was at a group this was when he was campaigning last year, just before the organizing convention for the Utah GOP. He held these little stumping and campaign events with the delegates because he knew that he was depending on the delegates to elect him. And he knew that I suspect he understood that he was in safe company in Salt Lake County, which is much more left-leaning. And so he openly stated and to that audience that the caucus and convention system is not essential to the Republican Party. Our job is basically to be like the Republican Party just in the other 49 states and just get Republican candidates elected. His campaign slogan was the redder the better. And given that he jettisoned the primary principle, the defining characteristic of Republican government in order to get there, basically he's saying the redder the better, given that red has no inherent meaning other than bulk up the party and give us more power. So that's one of the reasons why I don't trust Rob Axon. I have an audio recording of him saying that, by the way. That he's super happy to go spend a bottomless amount of our money, our hard-earned money that we've donated to the Utah GOP through the Lincoln Day dinner and whatever other craziness and all their campaigning and they're all, the big buttons on their website that you saw earlier on. Like, congratulations, you're helping us. Give us money, right? You know what that goes to? That goes to, in Rob Axon's own words, he said, we're going to go find the young people and we're going to have a big tent Republican Party. We're going to recruit, guess what? Moderates, right? Because a lot of the young people aren't actually that conservative. They were never taught to be conservative. They were never taught Republican and constitutional principles in their schools. They think they know the Constitution, but it's brainwashing and it's lip service. And I can prove that at very many points. And I invite you to sign up for our Constitution classes because we're going to be going in detail over things. Article 2, Section 1, Article 1, Section 2, all of the above, the election methods, the war powers of the presidency and Congress, the Bill of Rights, everything. The judiciary, I have a deep scoop on each of those. And each of them has been deeply misrepresented and misunderstood because we have these Potemkin cardboard facades that have been propped up in the place of the true Constitution by frankly, by the national parties and by the public education system. So CAUCUS is your chance to see through that cardboard facade. And I'm just going to, I was hoping to get a little more help from these resources here. And I do have a really good resource about the intent behind CAUCUS. And then we're going to go a little bit into the form of CAUCUS and what to expect right there. So, but yeah, okay. They got a bunch of fun sounding like boilerplate stuff here, but I'm still not seeing the crucial ingredient, which is, okay, I don't want the 2024 presidential preference poll. Okay. Who can participate? Who may attend? What date and time? Oh, is that going to give me any info? Sorry. Oh yeah, there's the date and time. Good job. Where is my precinct caucus located? Ah, ha, ha, ha. Okay. This is the first little bit of information that a person actually urgently needs. I love the orientation. I'm happy to give orientation on the purposes and the format and how it's going to work and stuff. But one of the biggest things you need to know is, how do I even get there? And so buried here in the FAQ, where is my precinct caucus located? They say go to Utah GOP. Oh man, Rob Axon, you're killing me, guy. Okay, look at this. Page not found. Really? And that's buried in the CAUCUS FAQ. Oh, and that was for 2024. So maybe they haven't updated this yet, but that's where the earlier links led us to. So guys, are you not going to do anything on your website until the day of or what? I mean, yeah, you got lip service for CAUCUS here, and a lot of this is still 2024 stuff. Rob, yeah, I've been telling delegates for a while now. I said ever since I looked into Rob Axon when he was running for the chair again last time, and the year before that, they did this really crazy thing. Expect opposition, expect intense opposition at the caucus and at the convention because they're trying to hijack it from the inside. That's one of the biggest takeaways for anybody who's participated in it before or just new. Realize that you are going into a war zone. I'm not saying that to discourage you. I'm saying that to encourage you. I'm saying that to say that don't be surprised when somebody starts railing after you and starts pulling really dirty shenanigans, frankly, to try to prevent you from being a delegate if you're asking the wrong questions or if you are actually an honorable and upstanding person. There are some very bad plants there that will do that to you. And part of the reason for that, if I can just be very blunt about the political dichotomy here, I'm not one of those people who says Democrats bad, but it is a reality in our state that the Democrats, by and large, know that they don't have much of a say. They know that they don't wield the political power because the Republican Party is the majority. So what do most of the Democrats do who want to be influential in politics? They join the Republican Party. They infiltrate it, right? And this is one of the reasons why we just shouldn't have partisan boundaries at all. is because just let people be honest about what they believe and what they stand for, and then let people allocate their votes accordingly. Duh, obviously, like we can do that. We're grown-ups. But yeah, this is what they'll do. And so a lot of more progressive liberal type folks will actually be present at a number of these caucus meetings. There's no county or precinct anywhere in Utah that's immune from this, as far as I'm aware. In fact, this is what Rob Axon's Goonies are. This is what they do. They actually actively get out the vote for people who are those more leftist type folks, the more fake conservatives, to go and show up at the caucus night, because they know that very few people show up, which means they only need like 3 or 5 people sometimes, or 10 people in the better attended ones even, to just go ahead and pretend to know what they're doing. Or they do know what they're doing in many instances. They're subverting a caucus, right? They're infiltrating, and to get their own kind of candidates elected. So the solution to that, the answer is, well, we need at least 5 or 10 good people who actually understand the Constitution and conservatism and so on. And the point isn't to prop up the party. The point is to save our caucus, save our representational methods, save the Constitution, because caucus is constitutional. If you get nothing else out of this, get that caucus is constitutional. Get that warm, fuzzy feeling that you feel about our nation's Constitution. Get it actually deep into your heart, and let that be your mainspring of love that motivates you to bounce out the door like Tigger on caucus morning and bounce to wherever your caucus meeting, which the lieutenant governor and the Utah GOP were 40 minutes in here, and they have yet to fess up as to how on earth can you get to your caucus, and where is it? I cannot attend because of a scheduling conflict or a physical disability. What if I can't vote because the Utah GOP doesn't even tell me where it is? Okay, all right. I'm just going to cut to the chase, guys. Sorry. I think I'm going to make a short cropped version of this video and just cut to right here. Okay. Precinctportal.org. Neighborhood Caucus Night Resources. That's the whole purpose of this website. This is what I advertise, precinctportal.org. But if you're just a Utah citizen or member of the Republican Party or of any party, you're probably not going to just immediately think, oh, I should go to Precinct Portal. You're not going to type that into your search bar. And so you're not likely to find this website. And that's one of the problems, is that the big fat elephants that should be showing you where to find your neighborhood caucus, their lips are zipped. My guess is that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of Utahns right now who know that caucus is important. They've heard about it from friends by word of mouth, maybe by church leaders, from whomever. They know about it from before, and they're just, in some instances, and they're just like, okay, all right, now I went once before. I don't remember, what was that website called? Or maybe they didn't. Maybe there's one with a friend, right? But they're just trying to figure it out for the first time, or maybe again, and they're just like, I don't know. Precinctportal.org, folks. This is where you go. Okay, sorry. I'm going to try not to be too critical here. The register button, you don't need to do that. You don't need to register to say, I'm going to show up. And I'm going to tell you actually a little bit of the evolution of caucus and how, like, it is under heavy attack, guys. Like, the war is not just happening in Iran. The war is happening right here in our neighborhoods. And so attending your caucus and actually standing up for what's right is how you win literal wars. You will prevent literal bloodshed. I am dead serious about this. I promise you, this is a guarantee. You will prevent literal bloodshed by attending your precinct caucus and by standing up for the right things there. And people, your posterity, whoever, like the people of liberty throughout the 1,000 years of peace that are coming up, once the wicked are destroyed, will thank you. They will praise your name. They will bless your name forever. They'll praise the Lord's name and they'll bless yours. I think that's the correct scriptural phrase. My apologies for the slip. So here we go. All right, cool. Look at that. I just pushed the button. And like I don't think I even did I have to do anything? I just clicked precinct locator. This is slick, guys. Wow. I think this might be doing some geofencing or something. Like, it might be looking at my IP address. It knows I'm from the American Fork Library here. And so it just actually just led me straight to this. This is cool. Like, yeah, check this out. Ooh, isn't that cool? Yeah. All righty. So you can totally see that, like, on precinctportal.org, you can actually find your caucus. You can find your meeting place. And mine's going to be at the Greenwood Elementary. And it's going to be, you want to go there early 6 p.m. check-in and meet and greet. Meet and greet's important, by the way, just so you know. You don't know, like I don't personally know everybody that's in this blue highlighted area. That's like thousands of people. Um, my guess, based on the track record, is it's going to be somewhere between 20 and maybe 100 people who show up, because I've been really trying to get out the delegates in my area and trying to get out the neighbors to come and vote. That's weird. Precinct chair and vice chair are the same. I knew about one of them, but I don't remember my precinct chair resigning. But anyways, sorry, separate matter. All righty. But 6 p.m. Be there to check in. I will tell you what to expect there. So you show up, so you go ahead and plug it in. By the way, if this doesn't come straight here to you, like you can plug in your address and you can go search it that way, boom. And there it is. Yes, sir. That is your, and it will tell you your congressional district. That's important. That's not correct. That's not updated because they just barely changed the boundaries and they now have a new race. So I might have to get with precinct portal folks to make sure they have that updated. But these guys are actually helpful. They will help you. State Senate District 21. I was running for that. State House District 52. State School Board District 11. Yeah, I was running for SD 21 in the Senate race, and I just switched from Utah State Senate to the U.S. House Congressional District 4 is now right here. But anyways, but yeah, so you can and have a little about here. There's gonna be cool precinct positions, how to run. Like this is a helpfully tailored website. Precinctportal.org. If you get nothing else, just go there, check it out. But yeah, let me go ahead and just introduce you to like how it roughly works. I'm just going to give you a little bit of my background, my experience, and I will inform you in advance. Be prepared for surprises. Okay. Again, this is a war zone. There could be punji sticks. There could be landmines that metal detectors don't catch. And it's not because CAUCUS is bad. It's because CAUCUS is good. It's under attack. So there will be booby traps and stuff just to keep you guys on your toes. What's happened historically? When I first started getting involved in the caucus, it was basically you showed up and there were a couple of nice, polite neighbors. Usually there were people I actually recognized because they were people who were pretty involved in the community, and they might have been the people who invited me there to caucus. Two people sitting there behind a little folding table and little schoolroom chairs in your local elementary school's gymnasium or a big classroom or something like that. And they would be sitting there, and you would walk in, and they would the people at the front of the building, they would tell you, which precinct are you at? Oh, you go to that room over there. It's this room number, or it's the gymnasium, or it's the auditorium, or whatever. And they'd give you directions. It would be beautiful, and you'd have a school map. You would know where to go. And they would often have signs that would say, oh, you're in precinct, what's the precinct number? 25 AF 13. All right. So my precinct number has changed over time with boundary changes and so on. So I need to go here so I can know my new number. And so if I know, now I know on caucus night, I show up to Greenwood Elementary. That's where I'm going to go at 6 p.m. I'm going to be looking for precinct number 25 AF 13. And there should be people there who with signage who will say, oh, 25 AF 13 is that away. They're meeting in this room, and they'll have a big poster or whatever. You know, they'll do that because they care about you, right? Or they should anyway. Some might be less organized than others, as we're seeing here with the website situation. But then once this is what used to happen is once I got to that area where with the signage, the clear big posters or the butcher paper with the big fat marker saying, you know, 25 AF 13 this way, you know, and then a big sign in front of the door and this way. And you'd eventually hopefully bump into people that you know. You might have to check a few classrooms and be like, hey, are they there? And sometimes it was a little crazy because they'd swap rooms or something based on how big a crowd they were expecting, right? Things can get a little bit crazy, but it was basically pretty straightforward. You show up. Here's my precinct number. Oh, you're that way. Go to that room. Follow the signs. You go there. Two nice people sitting behind a desk, and they have a roster there. They know who the registered voters in their precinct are. They have that paperwork. And they'll say, let's see, and what is your name? Or a better experience is, oh, hi, Seth,
Mm-hmm.
because he's your neighbor from 7 doors down or 3 doors down or what have you, you know? Neighbors is the best way to credential. This is what the voter ID laws are really monkeying with. They would put a piece of plastic or a social security number, mark of the beast somewhere in Washington above your own neighbor's ability to identify you. And they could withhold that. So that's one of the things that's dangerous about the SAVE Act and other voter ID and voter registration laws, that they centralize the ability to verify or to withhold verification of your identity. And that enables social credit scores to keep you from voting. The reason I bring these things up, it's not because I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. It's because they're real. These are realities. I have seen tactics like these deployed to try to sour the perceptions of the caucus convention system and make it difficult for delegates to participate, make it more difficult for people. It's part of the reason why I'm going a little over the trajectory here, because your experience will not be as rosy as my first one was. This has gotten a lot harder. I'm just saying the way it was. And you just say, oh, yeah, I'm Seth. Okay, do you have a driver's license or whatever? Can you show me some ID? Can you show me a piece of mail? And then it's like, oh, yeah, that's your name and that's your address. Uh-huh. And yep, and you're on our roll. Can you just sign here? And you just sign in. Boom. All right, you are credentialed. They know who you are. And they know that you are eligible to vote in that precinct. And then you go ahead and go inside and you go find a seat. You go shake the hand of the precinct chair who's already got things set up, and you got a nice American flag there. They don't have a podium or a dinky little table or something like that, just to, keep they have some little colored slips of paper usually. They'll be for the ballots for the different races. And then you got so you go and meet people. You just go and rub shoulders, and you might have a couple who are announcing in advance, like, "Hey, I'm planning on running for precinct chair. I'm planning on running for vice chair. I'm planning on running for state delegate or county delegate." Almost no one ever wants to run for precinct secretary. That was the first thing I did. I just got the short end of the stick there. And the first time that I showed up to caucus, it was like 3 people. It was me, my wife, and this guy, and I think one other neighbor, one or two, and some of them were just kind of in and out. That's a little bit more what it goes like on non-presidential election years, unfortunately. And one of the kind of clever ways that people did get more attendance at the caucus is to hold the presidential preference poll or whatever other things on those. But also, a lot more people care to be delegates in presidential election years, because this is one of the big danger signs, is that our politics are so driven by national media messaging. That's a huge vulnerability. Anyways, this is not an election year, so we fully expect that caucus turnout will be lower, even though anybody who's really paying attention knows that the party chair, Rob Axson, is bent on cratering the caucus. He wants it gone. He wants it dead. And if he can't just make it dead outright, he's going to infiltrate it with, guess what? Some of those uh, more radical provocateurs. And we don't have to go for the whole red-blue division. That your caucus really isn't supposed to be partisan. Originally, the caucus was not partisan. And you're supposed to just talk about principles and uphold and sustain the Constitution. But anyways, so you can meet and greet people. You can decide to run to be one of these officers. I'm going to go ahead and jump over just real quick to, so there is a little thing about, if you're a delegate, it's a biannual meeting of party precinct where neighbors elect new precinct leaders. So it's every 2 years. Only do this once every 2 years. Precinct leaders and precinct delegates who reflect the values of the neighborhood and the party. This is a beautiful thing. This is representative government, in my humble opinion, at its finest. Sans party stuff, but you'd have 5 roles: you precinct chair, and precinct vice chair. The chair and the vice chair basically run the show. They handle if there's a complaint, if there's some administrative thing, usually it's the chair or vice chair that oversees that. Messaging with the delegates, informing them, running the caucus night. That's your precinct chair and vice chair. And the secretary keeps the records. And state delegate and county delegate. As I mentioned before, state delegate votes for, in the nominating convention, he votes for candidates for state office, and the county delegate votes for candidates for county office. State delegate also does national office. So the U.S. Congressional District 4, or whatever congressional district you might be in, that is one of the responsibilities of the state delegates to address. And you do get like about a month and change, depending on if you're a county or a state delegate. State delegates get like one more week before their county or state party conventions in April. This year it's going to be April 25th and April 18th, I believe, for the county. County is 18th, state is 25th. But anyways, so you're gonna have a very exciting several weeks there if you do get elected as a delegate, and you are going to be responsible to travel in person to these meet and greet events with the candidates. The candidates get an email list of the delegates who are in their constituency. So if it is a congressional district, if it's a state senate district, house district, school board race, what have you, the candidates will reach out to you and they will give you these special invites saying, hey, you're a delegate. You get a VIP invitation to come meet me at the library, American Fork Library, 7 p.m. on, it's not open Fridays that late, but like on Thursday evening on this date, right? And then you get the choice to go ahead and see if you can make that. And usually they try to hold multiple such events. They will be in various geographic locations just so they can cover the grounds and try to minimize the travel time and distance for delegates, which is great. But then, like in the case of John Curtis, he had an event right here at the American Fork Library in the big community room downstairs. He booked that, tons of chairs, and we had maybe 30 delegates there, 30 state delegates, including myself, and we were there grilling him for the Congressional District's 3 seat. And it was a really beautiful thing. I got to ask him questions. You actually get to raise your hand and be like, hey, Mr. Curtis, what do you think about the Great Reset? I don't know about the Great Reset. you know, hey, Mr. Curtis, the Constitution says Article 1, Section 10 currency is the only allowable kind of currency. It's gold and silver. Are you going to hold the Federal Reserve accountable for being a counterfeiting organization? I don't understand the question. Next. or, or, um, oh, I think we need a Republican majority to do that. Why haven't you done that? You've had a Republican majority. Anyways, and it's glorious and beautiful. And I did post a really short video just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago-ish on my state representative and my state senator who were doing a little post-mortem, I hate to use that term, a little legislative session wrap-up thing. And it was all so nice and dainty, and they had BYU chocolate mint brownies and milk and stuff for all of the wonderful ladies and good old boys to show up there and go and eat their goodies and listen to what a good job our state senator and House rep did during this legislative session, and just pat them on the back for all the wonderful bills they passed. And what I noticed when I walked in there, pay real close attention if you ever go to one of these events, I noticed there was a stack of papers there, and there was a guy who wrote this kind of scathing question on one of those pieces of paper and put it down. And I was like, ooh, we could ask questions. Cool. So I got 3 of those pieces of paper and I filled them out. I was like, I questioned them about specific bills. What do you think about HB 330, granting civil immunity to all government officers? What do you think about SB 124 and all the breaking and entering into people's homes without a warrant? What do you think about SB 109 that, erases civil protections for marriage? I had these really unflattering, but very honest, very truthful, very cutting questions that I deserve answers to as a constituent, and without answers to which I have no good reason, frankly, to vote for these candidates. And so I put them in this stack of piles of paper, and there's this campaign worker there who's watching me do this, and he's like, I don't think we're gonna have time to get to all of your questions, right? Like that's the excuse. Anyways, and then like we get up and we start listening to, the senator's wife is the one who goes through she's leafing through this stack of questions and okay, here's a really nice question for you guys, and just throwing them all these softballs. Oh, here you go, here you go. Like these state senators and House reps just need to be super coddled. Caucus and convention and the vetting period between them are not like that. And if they ever start to look like that, you have a civic responsibility on the blood of our founding fathers to stand up and say, no, this is not right. You do not get to pre-screen our questions before we can ask them. We are delegates. We were elected by our neighbors to represent them and to make sure that you're actually qualified for this office. And if I don't get to ask you my questions, you don't get my vote, period. Okay? All right? So you get to have a really direct face-to-face understanding with these candidates. and I just love it. And this is one of the reasons why neither I nor you can afford to let caucus die. Can you imagine if we actually upheld the true electoral college as indicated in our Constitution, and you actually had the presidential candidates standing in this room having their debate, and the questions are being fielded not by some national news media representative who's going to, be biased and filter and pre-screen the questions, but by the body of delegates. Wouldn't that be so cool? And you can get somebody from the peanut gallery, some guy that you put there, some national delegate that you voted for, and he is putting these presidential candidates through the ringer in the hot seat. You know what? There's a reason why they don't allow that to happen. There's a reason why they bound the delegates at the national level. It's because they don't want any inconvenient questions slipping under the radar and being asked of a presidential candidate. They would not dare. That would ruin the republic, according to them. What it would actually ruin is it would ruin the partisan steel. It would ruin the narrative that it's okay to go and bomb foreign countries whenever you feel like it because I'm the commander in chief. Who cares about rules of engagement, right? George Bush III, sorry. Okay. And if you're going to unfollow me because I actually hold President Trump to our Constitution, then I'm just going to say you have no business being a delegate. Just being super straight up with you. You have no business lobbying to represent anybody in government if you're not going to hold us to the Constitution. If you're going to send for the parties, be gone right now. Thanks. All right. Sorry. I love you. I'm being direct. This is a manifestation of love. Whom I love, I chasten. That's what the Lord said. So say I. All right. So yeah, the point isn't to simp for the parties. The point is to ask those discerning questions. The point is to actually understand the Constitution for ourselves because we're actually allowed to do that. And the caucus is like almost the only setting that remains. It might be the only electoral setting that remains where we're actually allowed in a meaningful way to do that. Okay. So I was talking about this. Let's see. There's a little about here. There are 29 counties, 2,500 neighborhood precincts, and 4,000 state delegates. Yeah. So 4,000, that is quite a large gathering. And the convention is daunting. And I can go into the convention in a subsequent training, maybe for those who are delegates. I would really love to do that. But I'm preparing you for caucus night because that is even more important up front. So yeah, 2-year term and all these responsibilities. I highly recommend checking out the Precinct Portal website. Please do look into these. Have it in mind ahead of time what you plan to run for. And if you feel impressed in the moment, I have done it before in the moment. I talked with my wife on multiple occasions where I'm just like, I might sign up for something. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet, but are you okay if I do? And she's like, sure, sweetheart. All right. But yeah, I have that understanding. And it's intense for a little period. And then it's mostly not intense for a while. Precinct chair, you would show up to county central committee meetings and stuff. And you do make some decisions because the county party has its own rules and they amend those from time to time and blah, blah, blah. And that does impact your experience at caucus. And it does vary from county to county and so on. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend running for chair, vice chair, secretary, delegate, state and county. Just go gain as much experience as you dare. I actually really, really like that. And the more candidates you have running for a position, the more you actually get to grill them. So I'll tell you more of what we did. So I told you about how the credentialing used to be and how it was great. And I'm going to tell you now a little bit about what it's like when you do run for something. You don't have to announce in advance that I'm out. Just be super clear here. I am a little bit leery. I'm a little bit skeptical when a website, and I know that a lot of the people behind the Precinct Portal website are good people who are trying to help you, but the state party has done some dirty shenanigans by asking for an RSVP to the convention and stuff like that, so that they know exactly who's going to show up in events, so they know where to move the other people, and they know like it's nasty. There's no one who has any ounce of constitutional authority to demand that you give an RSVP before you show up to vote. Sorry, we need to count all the Republican votes in advance just so we know how many Democratic, sorry. I don't fall for that silly partisan divide. But you can see how people could engineer and manipulate the outcomes of elections if they know that you have already RSVP'd, and so you're very likely to attend versus not, right? It gives them a much clearer strategy idea to know where to go and mine for and harvest additional votes. Anyways, pardon, needed a little bit of hydration there. But yeah, you can totally declare it, but like you don't need to, because the only people who need to know you're running are your neighbors in the moment. Mm-hmm. If they know in advance, then maybe they'll be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll invite an extra friend to help you get elected. Because that's actually totally what the infiltrators at these things do. So it's totally fair for us to be like, yeah, I'm gonna try to find people who believe in me and invite them to come, or who share my values, because that's the point. That's the point of the precinct caucus, is to find people who will represent you faithfully. All right. And then yeah, and you can totally bring handouts and stuff. You can do that. That just facilitates communication. It is made easier if you already know the people decently well. It is made easier if you already know where the person stands on various issues, because then there's less to debate and discuss. But for the sake of your other neighbors who are there, and for your own sake, in vetting these candidates, please don't skip this stage. This is extremely important. Yeah, they'll do a Pledge of Allegiance. They'll read the party platform. They'll tell you the rules and stuff. And then it's honestly kind of a free for all. It's a madhouse oftentimes at the caucus. But the point is, the main objective of the evening is you have these seats that need to be filled: the precinct chair, vice chair, secretary, and the state and county delegate positions. Those vary by allocation in terms of your precinct size, by the way. So I'll have a certain number of seats there, and state and county usually come with both the with the precinct chair, and I think sometimes with the vice chair. It kind of depends. I think vice chair is at least at a minimum a county delegate, but that's the way they'll usually do it. I kind of don't like that. I would rather they separate those, because having an administrative responsibility versus having a candidate vetting responsibility, those are actually distinct. And you kind of do need to be able to focus and concentrate on vetting candidates if that's going to be your specialty. So that's one of my criticisms of the way that they're currently administered. But you know, if you're trusted, if you know the Constitution in and out, if you love it, if you're a freedom fighter, and if you're not just a partisan simp, then please do. You have my invitation to run for precinct chair, because that's the most influential position, where you can be both a state and a county delegate. You vet all the candidates for both races, and you can go and be that influence in the county policy making as well. So it's very important. Please don't shortcut this step of when you do show up. And they're going to have those elections, and they're going to announce at some point and say, all right, we're going to have our election for the precinct chair. Who is running for precinct chair? Raise your hand, right? And you do need a second. You need to be nominated by someone. That's typical according to Robert's Rules. Robert's Rules is a big fat book of explaining them. And those are the things that the formalities, the nice, polite, Victorian style method of communication, the legalese that goes on in these proceedings. You'll get a lot of exposure to that. Some of it is beautiful and glorious. Some of it's just kind of, okay, procedural, whatever. And some of it is really nasty. You'll see that if you go to convention. You'll see the nastiness of it more if you go to convention, because there are a lot of really dirty, underhanded things that people can do. They're less able to get away with it, by the way, if you have a little bit of parliamentarian training. A lot of the licensed parliamentarians out there are really, sorry, I don't want to sound, I want to have more friends. Come be my friend. All right. If you're a parliamentarian, I'm not dunking on you. I'm just saying, like, with great power comes great responsibility. And if you know the rules, you do have more latitude to, I've seen people shortchange others out of their rights because they didn't know what was happening. Very much just like a prosecutor will do in a criminal trial or pre-trial hearing. Extortion. So use that power responsibly if you have it, and go ahead and you can totally just ask a chatbot to be like, hey, bring up, it's like 15 minutes till your credentialing period for your caucus meeting starts, and you're like, okay, hey, ChatGPT, can you give me like a, I don't know, 3-paragraph summary of Robert's Rules? Sure. Right? Just go ahead and listen in. Get a little bit curious. Ask your questions, right? Get some of those addressed. Sooner's better, obviously. I'm not going to discourage people from showing up to caucus if they're not parliamentarians, because I wasn't, right? I wasn't trained in all this stuff, and you don't have to be. But I want to give you some comfort here, and this is something that you should understand, is that whatever parliamentary procedural rules anybody tries to foist on you at the caucus, If you have any genuine procedural question, if you have any warranted concern, any sincere position that you wish to express, this is a venue for that. And your precinct chair should be accommodating to you. And if he's not, then he's not doing his job very well. And of course, there does need to be orderliness and so on. You can't have one person just dominate the whole thing, all that. So there is a master of ceremonies. There is some decorum there. But just know that if you do have some kind of genuine concern, like, hey, can we like watch the vote counting and stuff? And he didn't explain that or something like that, then they got to explain that. Provide for that, So the very fact that there are formalities and Robert's rules of order and so on does not mean that anybody gets to, stomp on you, neglect your rights, ignore you, or willingly sabotage you. And so if you don't know what's going on, raise your hand to this. Say, point of order. Just say point of order and ask your question. That's the proper thing to do. That says in a way, hey, I'm a little bit bewildered, or I didn't catch that, I didn't follow that. This thing was not clear to me. There's another thing called a point of privilege. You'll get into that more if you're going to the convention. But I don't want to spook you just being like, oh no, you have to be a lawyer or something. You got to go to law school before you can show up to your precinct meeting, because that's the opposite of what caucus is about. So pardon me, got to get a little bit of water. All right. I have not been doing great at checking the live stream for any questions, so I'm going to go jump over there for one moment. Please pardon. And just see what I got. All right. All right. I'm just gonna. I'm going to go ahead and read a couple of comments here because I've got some good ones here. Okay. Boy of Steel 82 says, yeah, Utah GOP is a joke and it's frustrating for us conservatives in Utah. I hope you're successful in your run. It's also frustrating to see liberals infiltrating our caucus system, witnessed firsthand. Sad thing is the majority of Latter-day Saints do not turn out, at least in my area, West Salt Lake County. Yeah, that is really sad. And I think a large part of it is just due to the institutional neglect and willful forgetfulness of it. And you have seen that right here firsthand in like really terrifying ways, frankly. It's terrifying that these people have so much power over us. They control so much of the traffic. And it starts from the very beginning of things, the very earliest stages of like, there are a lot of people just don't know. They don't even know that caucus exists. And so they can't type that into a search bar if they don't know that it exists. That's stage one. And then stage two down here is like, oh yeah, you got to jump through all these hurdles and like figure out that the lieutenant governor's office desperately doesn't want you to know about caucus, and neither does the Utah GOP. And so it's like the whole thing is stacked against you. And that's one of the reasons why one of the, I believe, more important items of conditioning just to prepare our minds for caucus is the fact that it is heavily under attack from within and from without. The people in power want it gone. John Curtis doesn't want to hear any more questions from the peanut gallery about the Article 1, Section 10 currency. He does not want to be held responsible to the Constitution or to the people. He just doesn't. He wants to have everything curated and crafted and the public views and opinions and inquiry, all of their wrath misdirected. That's what the parties do to stay in power. They misdirect. They get us to fight each other, and then we're not asking them the questions that we should be asking. We're not acting as a check against them. But anyway, so all right. So I was talking about you can get up. We've had I think 5-6 candidates before running for state delegate, and it was great all at once. And they would get up in a line. We just be like, okay, all right, get up in the line in front of stand in a row in front of the whole group, and the precinct chair, or you could vote, by the way, on this. If you can raise your hand at any point, if the precinct chair is like, and we're gonna have 1 minute for each of these candidates, you can raise your hand and be like, can we have 2? Can we have 3? Right? If it's a reasonable ask, please do it, because if you want to get to know these candidates, 1 minute's really hard to fit a little elevator pitch in for why I should be a delegate, right? 2 minutes is fairly challenging. 3 minutes, you finally start to be able to say something and get out some kind of an educational thought. And I'll just give you one example. This is the thing that I said that got me elected as a delegate, my first time that I was elected as a delegate. I showed up and I raised my hand when they said state delegate, boom, I want to be. Just be confident. Say yes. And someone seconded because there was someone present who was like, oh yeah, I know him. Like, I trust him. Sure. Right. Second, right. He seconded the nomination. I nominate myself, seconded the nomination. So I got up there in front and we had 2 minutes or something to just give a quick, speedy pitch for why should you vote for me to be a delegate to represent you. This is very consequential because this could be a determining factor in who ends up sitting in Congress or who your next. I don't think that it affects the president very much, honestly, but because the fix is in with that.
It could.
It could, in theory,
if given enough time.
Given enough time and enough bad laws overturned. But yes, this is relevant to the question of presidential
starting the boulder. We're starting the boulder.
Yes, you need to start the boulder here. That's the point. And this can determine who your county attorney is in the future. It could determine who your sheriff is. It could determine whether or not you get arrested for violating a mask mandate or a curfew or something like that. So pick your delegates carefully and make sure that you understand the Constitution well enough to know what you're voting for, and you get to know your neighbors well enough. And this is the point. This is an election system that fosters connection and harmony and understanding. Every other election system I've ever participated in does the opposite. Creates disharmony, disunity, distrust, disconnection, ignorance. This promotes knowledge. But here's what I did. I went up in front. I was just like, hey, my wife and I have been looking into schools, private schools for our kids, right? Now, I know one of the hot button topics, this was back in 2022, one of the hot button topics at that time was the school choice vouchers. The legislature was bragging about, and every Republican candidate almost, many of them were just so, they wanted to be seen on the right side of that issue as being in favor of school choice. Problem is, a lot of bills state they claim to be exactly the opposite of what they really are, right? And my wife and I experienced this firsthand. So what I did is I just got up and I used those 2 minutes just to inform our neighbors, saying, this was our experience with the school choice voucher program. We looked around. We saw that there were schools that were good, really good private schools that we wanted to send our kids to. And guess what we found out? The vouchers didn't apply. Because, why didn't they apply? Because they had an element of religious teaching. They allowed religious books in those schools. They actually opened up the Bible in their classroom. And they also taught from the Constitution. And therefore, the funding was not eligible. The schools were not eligible for the school choice voucher funding. And so I simply explained that the school choice voucher program here in the state of Utah was actually not designed to promote school choice. It wanted to give us the illusion, the bill sponsors wanted us to believe that, or whoever's behind it, wanted us to believe that it would improve our choices. But in fact, it converts private schools into public schools by hijacking the funding mechanism. It gives private schools a financial incentive to depart from truly independent, truly private curriculum, including curricula that have a religious element, like the good and the beautiful homeschooling teaching that we use right now. That is totally not eligible for a lot of these things. There are certain things that are, anyway, it's messy. You can use some vouchers for some things, but it's very, very hairy to keep track of all those things. And anyway, that was just one little pitch that I gave. And I said, hey, just so you know, we've learned from firsthand experience, this bill is the opposite of what it purports to be. Here's why. And it actually increases the barrier to entry financially for truly private school, because we're going to be taxed more. They say it's not going to cost more tax dollars. Guess what? The more liberal, more pro public education folks are going to be like, hey, you're taking away money from us. We need to raise taxes. And guess what? That was the subsequent direction they went with things. And so that was something we correctly predicted, correctly ascertained. And it was a little bit astonishing to me, honestly, because most of the rhetoric, the national and state news media consensus and the politicians, the talking heads that you see with the big name recognition, totally disagreed with me. But my neighbors agreed with me. Because based on that little punctilious explanation, they were edified. They understood that they could begin to see through that issue as well. Perhaps some of them already felt that way or felt that something wasn't right there, right? And so being able to understand that they have a neighbor who is invested in this and who is willing to pay the price to discern things accurately. They're not claiming that I'm infallible or anything like that, but it was a great opportunity, and I made a good case for why I should represent them, and they agreed. And so I represented them. I became a delegate, and that's what led to the wonderful being able to go and grill these candidates ever since. So I highly recommend it. You don't have to pick the school choice issue. You don't have to pretend to know things you don't know or anything like that. But like, this should definitely be a place where it's okay to ask a question. And if you're really good at asking discerning questions, then you love our Constitution, you should probably be a delegate. Please consider it. Please think about it. Right. There have been other people that I have run into through this and who gave their pitches, and I listened to them and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, like I never thought about it that way. You know why we never thought about it that way? Because that idea had never been mentioned in our news media and on our mainstream outlets that we go and like graze at every day. That's our watering hole. Those ideas never surface. Maybe once in a while, somebody on social media comes up with these kind of kooky sounding things, and then you go talk to them in person and like, wait a minute, you're on level. Yeah, I'm on level. Yeah, I've got the receipts, right? It changes the game. It changes the story here. It takes away a lot of that anonymity and a lot of the ability to cloak things, because you can, if somebody's up in front of you, you can grill them and ask them questions. And yeah, we totally have had also, candidates who've gotten up who are just like, this is my one issue, and this issue is everything, and vote for me. And sometimes we did. Sometimes the consensus was that he got that position. Sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes there were too few people running. And sometimes I've just been really disappointed in the lack of discernment by fellow delegates and by neighbors, unfortunately. It happens. We make decisions that we regret later. But this is an important reason why delegates and the neighbors who elected them should stay in touch after the delegate gets elected. This is one of the things I made sure to do. Is I made sure to, I had their emails now. I said, hey, okay. And I put my number up on the board, my email, and said, hey, if you want to talk to me about these races, about these candidates, you have observations, you have questions, feed them to me, and I can go ask them, right? You want some info? I'm your man. Let me go get it for you. And I did. I reported back to my neighbors, to my precinct. And that's something I've really, really, really enjoyed doing. There were times when I was just super swamped and busy and didn't manage to do a write-up on every single thing. But I did do some kind of lengthy write-ups on quite a number of the candidates, found out some super amazing and very intriguing things about John Curtis. I've got long essays about him that I've published to the internet, and very, very happy that I did. And I wish I'd given him actually a harder time than I did. Because more people need to have the wool pulled off their eyes about the wolves in sheep's clothing among us. But yeah, I got to interview a county attorney candidate here in Utah who was later accused of satanic ritual abuse and cannibalism during that same election cycle. And you know what? He revealed to me in that interview the very purpose, the motivation behind the group that's lobbying, that's pushing these SRA allegations and the Epstein files and all that. It's all related. And I've got videos that expose that. So you can be in a hot seat. You can actually, let me just put it this way. In the Book of Mormon, in 3rd Nephi, there's Nephi the prophet. And he reveals to the people the murderer of the chief judge. And there's also the servant of Helaman, who exposes the Gadianton plot. Guess what? This is your ticket to do that. You can actually be you can be an insider with respect to gaining visibility into and access to these patterns of behavior. You get to see them close up enough that you can see, oh, there's a little cardboard cutout. Let me see what's beyond that. Oh, wow. Like, because Potemkinism, if you're not familiar with Potemkinism, it's Gregory Potemkin. He was the guy who was an early Bolshevik pioneer, and he wanted his higher ups to know just how prosperous his doings were. And so he had this thing where he had these facades, basically these theater props of like whole villages that were made to appear very industrious and very economically flourishing and active and happy families and stuff. And what happened was, I'm trying to remember the ruler. I need to brush up on my history here a little bit. But the supreme ruler was coming on this tour of all the wonderful kingdom, the empire, the wealth, the jewels, the production, because that's what communists love to see. They love to see the people breaking their backs in these slave labor camps and cranking out production. So what he did is he put up this fake village and made it look all prosperous, right? When the supreme emperor for life was coming down the river to come and see that. And then, as soon as the boat had passed with the supreme leader on it, whoop, tear down the village, whoop, travel upstream with some fast horse-drawn carts or whatever, with the mules, and then whoop, there's another one. Oh, look at that beautiful, prosperous hamlet. So that's an inherent strategy of communism, because communism does not have any substance to it. And this is, I hate to break it to you, but our political party system of today it implements communism. That's why they're so sympathetic to communism, and that's why, even though they give lip service against it, they're actually they're running headlong in that direction. And you can see that firsthand as you become a delegate, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, oh, the emperor has no clothes, right? So you'll find that out. You'll find that out in a hurry if you are elected as a delegate and you know your way around the Constitution. You have a conscience. You can read. You're not willing to like lie. Then yeah, you can discern stuff. So with that, and it's great fun. It's great fun. This is one of the things that I tell people, to invite them, to encourage them to show up to CAUCUS. There is not better entertainment in the entire world. Like, you cannot find better entertainment. And if you're a delegate, by the way, please like try to get other people seeing what you're seeing, right? Try to record it, do some video, do some audio, do some write it up, put it out there, like, and if they allow it, I would actually encourage inviting other members of the general public who maybe just barely didn't become a delegate or something, or wanted to, or want to explore it. Like, yeah, I brought my kids to these events, right? I brought my kids to John Curtis's events. I just never ate any of his sweetmeats or dainties, because if I had, I did the math, and if I had eaten everything that John Curtis was, he'd do these catered lunches and stuff. He wanted to schmooze the delegates. Unfortunately, it worked too well. But don't fall for that. Please don't be dumb. Like, and this is just a policy of mine. You don't have to have the same policy, but this is your policy of mine. I just don't eat stuff that I don't take the poisoned apple that the Wicked Witch has given me. Um, because it does change your feelings and your perceptions about people when you start seeing them as a sugar daddy. Yeah, if I had eaten everything, if I had taken everything that John Curtis was offering me when I was a delegate, it would have exceeded the legal threshold for bribery in my employment. So just saying, would have handily exceeded that to the point where my employer would have regarded it as a conflict of interest if it had been the course of that. So don't think that you're not impressionable. That's part of what I'm saying. Don't think that you're immune to all that. And it's hard work. You got to stand with the founding fathers. You got to stand your ground. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So please do enjoy, relish that period. Your spouse is likely going to be missing you a lot. Your kids missing you a lot. Please relish the opportunity to be a delegate. It's a rare privilege, and not very many get to do it. Not very many do it. Not very many sign up to do it. And too many who are unqualified to do it sign up to do it. So you need to sign up to do it, to keep the bad guys from taking over, basically. I'm gonna wrap up here pretty soon, but let me show you one more thing that I just positively love by way of inspiration. Let's see. I'm gonna look up a talk from The Constitution, a Heavenly Banner, from Ezra Taft Benson. Yes, sir. Am I a right-wing extremist? No. I am a Constitution-loving individual. And I'm religious too. You remember I said that it was the first presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to whom I owe my involvement in the delegate system, in the caucus, in the convention. And it is a needed check on corruption in government, because you do get better public officers when you actually put in the effort to vet them. So I'm going to read you this little section. There are 4 points here raised by Ezra Taft Benson in this talk that was given 1986, I want to say. Yes, September 16th, 1986. And he's talking about our need to uphold the Constitution. I'm going to go ahead and include this prophecy of Joseph Smith because it's extremely relevant. And just yesterday, by the way, our own prophet, President Oakes, who is a lawyer, he is a schooled professor of law, and he actually wrote a book, by the way, Carthage Conspiracy, going through for the very first time. He unsealed these documents about the alleged assassins of Joseph Smith, their MO, their patterns of behavior, what exactly is going on there from a prophecy standpoint, how that interacts with our legal obligations. It's a beautiful book. I highly recommend it. You can find it on eBay or Amazon for like $5 or $10. Carthage Conspiracy. Go check it out, please. You need to know what's in it. And we're coming to a point on all that. Anyways, the prophet yesterday invited us to do a fast on July 5th for religious liberty and to uphold the Constitution, religious liberty worldwide, and the constitutional principles worldwide. Isn't that fascinating? We have a duty to defend the Constitution. I'm sorry, guys, like, I know I used to play video games. I used to hide in my parents' basement, and it was bad. And then I started to grow up more into my responsibilities. And this is what got me going. This is what saved me. Okay, guys. We have a responsibility to save our Constitution, and you can play a part in it. Please do. I so very much want to share my pieces of the puzzle with you and have you share your pieces of the puzzle with me. I want you to go and figure out who murdered the Chief Judge Caesarum when you go and run for a delegate. I want you to be on the inside. I want you to be a sleuth. I want you to be smart. I want you to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. Okay, here, listen to this prophecy. Prophecy of Joseph Smith. We are fast approaching that moment prophesied by Joseph Smith when he said, "Even this nation will be on the very verge of crumbling to pieces and tumbling to the ground. And when the Constitution is upon the brink of ruin, this people will be the staff upon which the nation shall lean, and they shall bear the Constitution away from the very verge of destruction." Okay, guys, if you're not getting National Treasure vibes here yet, let me just plant that seed in your head, okay? A National Treasure, Nicolas Cage, he's an actor, right? But what I loved about that movie was, just by way of analogy, yes, there's some puzzle solving. You got to learn how to pull things together from different avenues across party lines and so on. You got to learn how to be observant and be a problem solver. You got to solve puzzles. But I think the even more beautiful principle here is, if we analogize that little phrase from that movie, I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. Guess what, guys? Like, we should totally go and steal our Constitution from our federal government and from our state government, because they don't even want it. And it won't be stealing. So, like, steal it before they destroy it is kind of what I'm asking here. I'm not claiming that that's a totally rigorous application of what the prophet was here asking us to do. But what I will say, I'm just going to rule out of bounds in advance. A lot of the complaints, a lot of the excuses I've heard from a lot of people say, well, this country's already done for. There's nothing to do except wait until the second coming and let the Savior sort it all out. I'm sorry, but the prophets have been very clear that if we take that lazy approach to it, we're not going to be among those who actually help to preserve the Constitution. And it does need to be preserved. And the prophets have expressed their faith that it will be preserved, but it will have to be preserved through the active efforts and sacrifices of people like you and me. And so my take on that, when I say steal the Constitution, I'm not saying go and physically steal the document. What I'm saying is, we need to be a people who actually love those principles, who sustain and who actually implement those principles. If we live up to those principles, and if we grant others the protections of law, the rule of law, as declared, as outlined, as specified in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, guess what? That's got defendant rights. We're wiping our feet all over defendant rights right now just because we have an enemy. Oh, the enemy needs to be destroyed. It's strong and virtuous and tough. to go after enemies and blow them up with big bombs and throw them in prisons down in El Salvador and stuff. Channeling some Mike Kennedy there. Sorry. At many points, I don't care about the opposition. I don't care who's running against me or whoever. It's just, but you got to realize, love your enemies. I love my enemies so much that if they're ever accused of some heinous thing, I'm going to be like, hey, was that a grand jury that issued that presentment or indictment? You can't just do that as a prosecutor. Fifth Amendment. All infamous allegations have to come from a grand jury. Boom. And it has to be an independent citizen grand jury, not some like pet kept in the closet of the federal government. Same thing with trial juries. Do you have an impartial panel of your peers? Are we doing that? Hello? Pretrial diversions and plea deals in 99+% of criminal cases? That's not following the Constitution. That's not loving your enemies. And loving your enemies doesn't mean you let them off the hook. It just means you prevent your government from becoming a police state. All right, so I'm going to read this last little bit here. And this has, okay, I should have done this at the very beginning. I should have just said, like, spoiler alert, guys, I'm going to read you an Ezra Taft Benson quote, and it has literally everything to do with caucus night and becoming a delegate. Did you know that? He actually mentions this right here in this seminal talk on saving the Constitution. Okay, you ready for this? Caucus night. What does it have to do with saving the Constitution? Okay, the need to prepare. Will we be prepared? Will we be among those who will bear the Constitution away from the very verge of destruction? If we desire to be numbered among those who will, here are some things we must do. Number one, let me highlight it here. It makes it easier to read online. We must be righteous and moral. We must live the gospel principles. All of them. Yes, that includes the word of wisdom. We have no right to expect a higher degree of morality from those who represent us than what we ourselves have. Explains Donald Trump. To live a higher law means we will not seek to receive what we have not earned by our own labor. Farewell, socialism. Sorry, I'll stop adding my commentary until the end here. It means we will remember that government owes us nothing. It means that we will keep the laws of the land. Laws of the land. Okay, sorry. I'll keep my promise. Sorry, I love you. I had a commentary there. But it means we will look to God as our lawgiver and the source of our liberty. Here we go. Number two, we must learn the principles of the Constitution and then abide by its precepts. Have we read the Constitution and pondered it? Are we aware of its principles? Could we defend it? Can we recognize when a law is constitutionally unsound? The church will not tell us how to do this, but we are admonished to do it. I quote Abraham Lincoln, "Let the Constitution be taught in schools, in seminaries, and in colleges. Let it be written in primers and spelling books and in almanacs. Let it be preached from the pulpit, proclaimed in legislative halls, and enforced in courts of justice. And in short, let it become the political religion of the nation." Number three, we must become involved in civic affairs. As citizens of this republic, we cannot do our duty and be idle spectators. It is vital that we follow this counsel from the Lord. Honest men and wise men should be sought for diligently, and good men and wise men ye should observe to uphold. Otherwise, whatsoever is less than these cometh of evil. Note the qualities that the Lord demands in those who are to represent us. They must be good, wise, and honest. We must be concerted in our desires and efforts to see men and women represent us who possess all three of these qualities. We must make our influence felt by our vote, our letters, and our advice. We must be wisely informed and let others know how we feel. We must take part in local precinct meetings and select delegates who will truly represent our feelings. Boom, there we go. Ezra Taft Benson, the premier constitutionalist in the last days, ever since Joseph Smith, as far as I can reckon. I don't know how many would challenge that characterization. Expressly invited us, saying we need to be righteous and moral. If you're not righteous and moral, I don't want you to run and be a delegate. If you are, then I do. right? It's that simple. This something my father said is no man is more intelligent than the commandments he keeps. Keeping God's commandments will increase your powers of discernment because you'll be more receptive of truth. And so God and his angels can teach you more. And then like Nephi, you can figure out who's the murderer of the chief judge and so on, right? You can figure that stuff out. And I'm not saying this to frame it like some kind of murder mystery, but like I totally have been given insight into what's behind the SRA and the Epstein files allegations. I know exactly what's behind it. And I know why they're doing what they're doing because I have interviewed politicians and they have tipped their hand in a massive way. And it's by understanding the Constitution that you can infer that. You can discern where is this going? Is this making the water in the pot hotter? Is the frog going to boil? If it's going to lead to something not good, don't do it. If this person doesn't have a clue what a grand jury is or what a trial jury is or they're required, don't vote for this person. Sorry, could name some more names there, quite a few. But you need to know the Constitution. This doesn't mean go and memorize weird pedantic things, but like it would not hurt to understand like why the War Powers Act is unconstitutional. What did Thomas Jefferson actually do with the Barbary Pirates? By the way, he waited for congressional approval before commencing hostilities. It's true. And no, the founding fathers did not believe that a blanket authorization was actually tantamount to a declaration of war because it's not specific to an enemy. Saying basically, oh, we just want to be at war perpetually. Maybe that's why we've been at war nonstop. Okay, we're going to wrap up here, but we also need to get involved, and you do need to attend your precinct meetings and choose delegates who will truly represent your feelings. And with that, I'll end saying, I have faith that the Constitution will be saved as prophesied by Joseph Smith, but it will not be saved in Washington. This is what told me beyond all doubt. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are not going to come and save you. Thomas Massie is not going to come save you. Elon Musk is not going to come save you. Who's going to save the Constitution? Looky here. It will be saved by the citizens of this nation who love and cherish freedom. It will be saved by enlightened members of this church, men and women who will subscribe to and abide by the principles of the Constitution. And with that, since I am running for public office, first, I'm going to invite you please attend your local caucus meeting. 2, if you fit these criteria, I urge you to run to be a delegate and to vote for others who have these qualities. 3, if you feel like you fell short in any of these areas, please work on it. Your discernment will improve and you'll have amazing experiences and the Lord will bless you tremendously. I promise you, I've seen it. So many miracles in my life came about through this. And now I'm running for public office. This is basically my platform. What we're reading right here from President Benson. I'm saying, show up, save the caucus, please give your loyalty and support to our Constitution. And yeah, I've got a little bio here. I don't think my bio is super important. On the back side of this flyer here, I was running for the Utah legislature. And now I'm running for the House of Representatives. And I've spent 2 years looking at everything that I haven't had time to look at everything, but pretty much every day, this last legislative session at least, I've been looking at bills and testifying in committee hearings that our legislature has been trying to pass. And this is what I found. I've got dozens of bills that I've analyzed. A lot of them are just egregiously opposite of what our Constitution provides and specific protections, like this the top one right here, SB 124. It would allow the Utah government and DCFS to just barge into your home without probable cause of any crime just to get access to your children just because they feel like it. Just because they're like, I believe that your child's welfare would be better off with us taking care of them, right? You misgendered your child or you're teaching them the wrong religion. Like that's literally what this would have done. And thanks, my sincere thanks to one of these dear women who President Benson was talking about here, who's standing up to save the Constitution, Tina Porter Warlocker. My sincere thanks to you for standing up in opposition to this bill to the point where it was not passed this legislative session. Thank you so much. everything you do, to all of you who have stood up in defense of freedom. I want you to be my people, and I want to be yours. I want to share this Constitution with you. I want to have a land where we actually stick up for each other and keep each other from going to the gallows because of due process, because we actually give a fig for each other, because we believe in freedom. That's what the Constitution needs. It needs people who stand up for what's right. And thank you to all who have stood up for what's right and all who are going to do so. Please join the fight. And I thank you very, very much. And with that, I think I'll go ahead and end this meeting with a prayer. I don't have to ask anyone's permission to do it. If you don't want to join, that's okay. I'm not prejudiced against anyone's religion, but I'm going to just ask for some blessings here. Our dear Father in heaven, we love thee and thank thee so much for this land of liberty. We know that the provisions of the Constitution are not self-enforcing, but we are eternally grateful to thee for those who have sacrificed to raise our awareness of these principles and to uphold them. We know that it takes great courage to attend a precinct meeting and to have the confidence to run for an office or to be a delegate when one is uncertain of what burden that might entail, or the ridicule that others might bring, or that we might question our own preparedness. We understand that it is challenging to discern friend from foe at many points, but we pray for thy blessings to be peacemakers, to treat even those who abuse and disrespect us with respect, so that we can act as a stabilizing influence and a unifying influence, and that we may find those that we can work together with, who can support us and whom we can support, that we may always be service-minded and do exactly as thy prophets throughout all time have urged and admonished us to do, that we might warrant thy blessings, dear Father. We thank thee for all who are fighting for freedom and pray that we may have breakthroughs, be able to reach more people and be more effective, and that those who have not yet considered these things may consider them, that we may reach them. Please help us to find those others who are working together with us and to see through partisan divides and deceptions, and to be able to collaborate with others and unify the whole population as far as it is possible, to see through the deceptions of the adversary and to overcome, and to preserve our Constitution and preserve our freedoms inviolate, not only for ourselves, but also for those who are not like us, who believe differently, who have a different national background, different religion, or different policy views and choices. Please, Father, may we not judge each other over these things, but may we be discerning of good character, of sincerity, of wisdom, integrity, and honesty. And may we choose to be and choose to elect such persons. Pray that we may succeed at doing so and find the union that thou hast for us. We love thee and thank thee for thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ, who is our great unifier. And we ask for these blessings of freedom to be upon us and to be gentle with and not judge those who, for the time being, choose not to get involved because they are trying to pursue and perform other duties and things that are expected of them. Please help us to be wise and to find that we have the means to fulfill our civic responsibilities and our immediate duties to provide for and protect and be with our families. Pray thou be with and strengthen each of them and each of our neighbors. And we love thee, thank thee for the living prophets and apostles, and pray thou please bless them. And we pray for these blessings in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, thank you to everyone for being here. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat one more time since you guys have been so much fun here. We'll wrap it up. If I can find the window, I've got too many windows. Yeah, I know it's been a long march here, but Here we go. There's my window. Are there any questions that I didn't answer about CAUCUS? Okay. Well then, consider ourselves prepared. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you later. See you on Tuesday night, whether they're in person or perhaps later on at the conventions.